Warning, the information and interviews shared on this program might be found to be quite useful.
Welcome everyone to this special edition of For Mature Audiences. We're here at the Ohio County Public Library where we are holding a forum, a panel discussion for senior adults in the Ohio Valley. This is everything that you want to know about adult services in Ohio County. And we have experts from various organizations, agencies, and businesses that all touch the senior population in one way or another that are on hand to answer the most asked questions and questions from our audience.
That's right, and I'm Tate Blanchard, and she is Sherrie Dunlevy, and we're so excited to be able to do this because we have such a wide array of services available to our older adult population across Ohio County, and we know that oftentimes folks have questions about these services that are available to them, but they just don't know who to ask those questions to, and that is the entire purpose of us hosting this here today at the Ohio County Public Library for you all. And you'll have the opportunity also to connect with these panelists when you have questions because we'll provide their contact information to you at the end of the show.
So how this panel is going to work is that everyone is going to introduce themselves and their organization and what they do and what that organization serves the public. Then Tate is going to ask each person 2 questions in which they will have 90 seconds to respond to those questions. And these questions are the frequently asked questions that each one of these people get when they're out in the public. And then after they finish that, we're going to open it up to the audience. So we've put note cards on the table so that if people want to write their answers down, we can ask those questions on their behalf. But if they want to ask their question personally, we will have a microphone in the audience so we can help them do that as well. And if anyone has any personal questions, well, our panelists have all agreed to stay over a little, and so people from the audience can meet them, talk with them, and ask their questions there.
All right, Sherrie, I think it's time for us to get started. We want to thank our panelists for agreeing to be here with us today, and I think we can go ahead and start our panelist introductions.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to start with you.
Thank you, Sherrie. Good afternoon. I'm Julia Bachman. I work here at the Ohio County Public Library as the Outreach Services Specialist. I deliver books and other library materials to adults who have a hard time getting to the library. I am also a notary. I can come to you and notarize your forms. I also offer one-on-one tech assistance, either in the library or in your home.
All right, thank you, Julia. Yvonne?
Hi, my name is Yvonne Verno. I'm the Executive Director with Faith in Action Caregivers. We provide services and support to older adults and individuals with disabilities who reside in Belmont, Marshall, or Ohio County. There is no cost for our transportation. It's all provided by volunteers using their personal cars. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Ashley.
Ashley Hall, Advanced Funeral Planner for Altmeyer Funeral Homes. It is my pleasure to talk to you today, and in today's world we find more and more families that are completely unprepared for the death of a loved one, and that's where I step in to help you figure out what we need to do to get things done and get things in writing.
Thank you, Ashley. All right, Jen.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Hall Fawson. I'm the Community Relations Director for Trustwell Living at Westwood Place. We are an independent and assisted living community located in Woodsfield, Ohio, and my role is to help seniors transition from home and into our community, and I'm also a resource for those that are looking for services. Thank you.
All right, Samantha.
My name is Samantha Walters, and I am with Communicare. I am the Director of Public Relations for Moundsville, Wellsburg, and Cameron Healthcare Centers. We offer skilled and long-term care. That means rehabilitation, wound care, respite care. We can offer a plethora of different services for you.
Thank you. Stephanie.
Hi there, everyone. I am Stephanie Sauvageot. I am the owner of IC Care. And also, as IC Care, we are part of the IC Group, which provides in-home companion care services through our home care division, We also have IC Cab, which is the latest out there for public transportation needs here in the Ohio Valley. But I'm here today as acting as the nurse for IC Care, and we'll be talking with you about specifically what home care is and the services that can be provided for individuals who would like to try to remain at home for as long as possible as they are aging.
Thank you. All right, Abby.
Hi, I'm Abby Manni with Capital Health Home Care. We're based out of Wintersville, Ohio, and we are a skilled home care service providing in-home nursing, physical, occupational, and speech therapy for those in need.
Thank you. Elizabeth.
Good morning. I'm Elizabeth Blake. I am a West Virginia SHIP counselor, and I will help you navigate through the Medicare process.
All right. Mairssa.
Hello, my name is Mairssa Jovicic, and I work for Valley Hospice, and I am the director of the Caring Connections Palliative Care Program at Valley Hospice. What we do is we see patients who have serious illness that are still seeking curative or life-prolonging treatments and need assistance with managing their symptoms related to those illnesses.
Thank you. Trisha.
Hello, my name's Trisha Painter. I'm with Amedysis Hospice. We provide hospice care to patients in Ohio, West Virginia, and Pennsylvania. My role is to help you navigate through the hospice journey and understand the truth and get rid of the myths about hospice and make sure you have all the education that you need to make a good decision.
Thank you. Anne.
Hi, I'm Ann Koegler. I am the Resource Services Coordinator with Altenheim Resource Services, which is a division of the Altenheim Retirement Community. The retirement community offers housing for older adults 65 and over. My piece of it, Resource Services, offers free information for older adults, their caregivers, and their advocates. It is confidential. We have no geographic limitations, and we try to offer choices of services when they're available so folks can make their own decisions.
Thank you. Dylan.
Good morning. My name is Dylan Fowkes, and I am an attorney with Jarvis Law Office in St. Clairsville, Ohio. At Jarvis, we practice in the areas of elder law and estate planning, so really we help our clients navigate both the legal process and the long-term care / Medicaid maze.
All right. Paula.
Hi, my name is Paula Calvert. I'm the CEO for Family Service. We are the designated senior center for Ohio County. Each county in West Virginia has a designated senior center. We do non-medical in-home health. We have transportation services. We do the Meals on Wheels for Ohio, Marshall County. And we also try to prevent social isolation and wellness. So we do a lot of, a wide variety of programs.
All right. Thank you very much. These are our panelists, everyone.
All right. And we'll go ahead and get started now with our questions that we already have that were supplied to us from our panelists. And we'll start with Julia with the Ohio County Public Library. Julia, one of the most frequently asked questions that you receive here has to do with the fact of if a person needs help with legal documents for senior citizens, can you assist them here at the library with those things?
To an extent, yes. We can notarize any documents. We can print any documents. The only thing we are not able to do is answer any questions that are legal in nature. So we can notarize, we can print forms for you, and we can help you find resources, legal resources, but we cannot answer the legal questions. Thank you.
Thank you. And our second question for you, Julia. Can the library provide help or guidance on where to get help to complete those documents?
Yes, we are happy to search law firms in the area, search for other services in the area. You just go to the reference desk and ask the librarian at the reference desk, and they'll be happy to help you find what you are looking for.
Thank you very much, Julia.
Thank you.
All right. Next, Yvonne with Faith in Action Caregivers. Yvonne, is there a cost for your transportation services?
Big question, always asked. There, like I said earlier, there is no cost because our services, primarily transportation, is provided by volunteers in their personal cars. There is an application process and time for requests, but there is no cost.
Thank you. And a follow-up to that, where can you take passengers?
Right now, we are only providing transportation in Belmont, Marshall, and Ohio County. We're looking at hopefully going to Washington, PA. But again, keep in mind, it's volunteers in their personal cars, and as I tell all of them, they have more of a life than I do, so they're busy.
Thank you, Yvonne. All right. Next, Ashley with Altmeyer Funeral Homes. Can you guarantee pricing or lock in pricing to fight inflation when pre-planning for a funeral?
Yes, you can. You can definitely fight inflation by pre-planning. When you pre-plan, you are actually locking in those prices for today's prices, not the prices of when you pass away.
And this is a very important question, I think, to just about everyone. How much does it cost to either bury and or cremate an individual?
That is a much more difficult question because each plan and every time I meet with somebody, it's personalized to you. So the price that I tell you for one person is going to be completely different than the price that I tell you to the person sitting next to you. Even if you're both wanting a burial, it's going to be completely different. There's a huge range in price. So it ranges drastically and it's personalized.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Ashley. Jennifer with Trustwell Living at Westwood Place. Will you take my money and my home if I come to move into your community?
That's a great question and asked very often. Trustwell Living at Westwood Place is a private pay community. And what that means is we charge based off of size and location of the apartment in the community plus a care level. Now, some of our seniors that live in our community have a 0 care level, so they just have the cost of the apartment, while others do fluctuate as seniors' needs fluctuate through levels 1 through 6.
Thank you. And here's another really good question also. What happens if I move into your community and I don't like it, or I happen to require a lot of care?
So another great question, Tate. Thank you. So our community is what's called an age-in-place assisted living community. Now, not all assisted living communities are in age-in-place, but what that does mean is our seniors can stay with us throughout end of life with the added support of home health, physical therapy, and hospice services. We do partner with them to keep most of our residents in-house. However, with that said, there's a few things that are beyond our scope of practice that we would seek services for a nursing home, as well as, I lost my train of thought, sorry. Seek services from nursing home and camera shy. So the other part of the question, that's what I was trying to remember, is that you don't always have to stay at our community if you don't like our community. You can give a 30-day notice at any time and leave our community if you are unhappy. You can also go out on overnights, vacations, and come and go as you freely would like to. A lot of people think that that's something you can't do. And no, we are not a Medicaid facility, but there are assisted livings that are. So, thank you.
Thank you. Samantha, anything about cost we know is a huge deal in regard to all of our services. So is there a fear of not having enough money or taking all the available money and not having money to leave as a legacy to families?
Yeah, that is a very, very frequent question. And it's a valid question, right? Because you guys have obviously worked all of your life. You've created these nest eggs and you want to be able to give back to your families. Ultimately, that's our goal for you as well. That's when we help you have these conversations about your Medicare. And there are tiers and how that works throughout your skilled stays when you would come to a skilled nursing facility. There are also conversations that we can help you have with your family. And truthfully, anyone on this panel, right? We all work together to support you in that very specific question because, I think there's some media things out there and there are some, concerns and, if you just watch the news in the morning, you see, don't let the nursing home take all of your money. That's not anyone's goal here. Obviously, yes, we're businesses, but yet we are, well, for most of us, I know there's some nonprofits too, but the business side of this is the person that we're caring for.
Thank you. And I know that there are other questions that arise in terms of family engagement and transportation. So in regard to those questions, what about visiting hours for families and family participation, and then also transportation outside of your community?
Yeah, so should you come and need to stay with us for any reason, right? Whether it's skilled care, long-term care, whether it's a family member, our home becomes your home. So all of the luxuries, for the most part, that you would have at home, you would have with us. So when it comes to transportation, yes, we can absolutely help you when it comes to getting to appointments. Yes, we 100%, schedule that, work with you, work with your family. You have a pet at home, and maybe that pet has gone to live with a relative. They can bring that pet in, and that pet is available to hang out with you throughout the day. Is that pet necessarily allowed to stay with us overnight and long-term? Unfortunately, no, but they are welcome at any point in time. It really is a sentiment that our home becomes your home, and you have that luxury.
Thank you very much. Stephanie, this is a very good question, and one that's asked a lot as well. Is there a difference between home health and non-skilled home care?
Absolutely, a very distinct difference, actually. So our business at IC Care is providing home care services, which is daily assistance with your activities of daily living, which includes things like meal preparation, medication reminders, homemaking services, transportation, personal care assistance, safety monitoring, dementia care, companionship, those kinds of things. That is what our services are centered around providing for the individual at home. Home health is ordered by a physician, and typically after an event, whether it's a surgery, a hospitalization, a significant decline in health, and your primary care physician would see you and say, let's offer you some rehab services that are home-based. And home health would send you in physical therapy, occupational therapy, perhaps speech therapy, maybe a short-term aid assistance for personal care, typically after an operation, something like that. And that is not what IC Care provides or home care provides. So home care is an at-will, voluntary, participative service that you would seek out on your own and set up your level of services. Home health would be ordered by your physician for in-home rehab.
And does health insurance pay for home care?
Well, that's kind of a cloudy area right now because we are on the cusp of health insurance beginning to cover some of the services that home care provides. But what we're finding, at least initially with this being offered under insurance, is that those services are very minimal and more or less related to a post-op situation or a short-term need. They are not being covered by insurance companies on a long-term basis to provide you daily assistance ongoing. So what we find for payer sources for home care, there are some opportunities for that outside of your healthcare insurance. One primarily that we work with the most is the Veterans Administration has a few different programs out there depending on the veteran service and eligibility, and also can incorporate those types of services for their spouses. So we do work with the VA quite a bit, programs that they offer. There's also services out there through your state Medicaid programs, Passport in Ohio, Waiver in West Virginia, and those you have to apply for those services, and those are issued through a case manager. And then also private pay. So that helps you to kind of control what you're spending. You can choose your amount of services based on what type of budget you can afford for that and what your care needs are. And then lastly, long-term care insurance policies. So if you've invested in one of those, you can tap into those to use for your home care services as well.
Thank you. Abby, you're going to kind of play off of that a little bit. Does skilled home health provide for 24-hour care in a person's home?
That is a great question, and the one that I get asked the most. Contrary to everything Stephanie just told you, I'm going to give you sort of the opposite side of things with the skilled home care aspect. So we unfortunately do not provide 24/7 in-home care. We are able to go in and provide nursing or therapy visits throughout a week. Sometimes it's multiple times a week. Others, it may be once a week or once every other week. But what we can do is work in conjunction with other agencies, such as home care agencies like IC Care or other home care agencies here in the Valley. So what we can do is work with them to provide kind of some coverage for the gaps that we have. We all know that we have family members that we try to rely on when we have these situations come up when we need a little bit more care, but they're not always available to us. So what we can do is work with things like IC Care, or we can work with passport aides occasionally are able to come in and help out as well if you have that Medicaid benefit. And then another aspect that we can utilize is if you are seeking out palliative care, not hospice care, but palliative care, we can work in conjunction with palliative care. So you may have the oversight of your palliative care nurse, which is an extra hand on your care and making sure that you're well taken care of, but you will also have additional eyes and ears in the home through our services of nursing and therapy.
And do you have to come straight from a hospital or a skilled nursing facility in order to be admitted to your skilled home care?
You do not. You do not have to go to a hospital. You do not have to go to a skilled or rehab facility in order to receive home health care. If something happens and you have an extended illness at home, or maybe you've had a surgery, went home to recover and thought that you were able to do everything on your own, but maybe it's just not panning out as you expected, you can seek out your primary care physician or your specialist and ask them if there's any way that you could get home health care services. Along with that, you could also go to an urgent care if you don't have a primary care provider, and you could speak with them about getting set up with home health services. And we at Capital have one of the best services now available called Checkup, which is a telehealth service with primary care providers that are willing to follow you throughout your care, giving you time to get established with a PCP or a specialist here in the community. So what we do with that is we would initialize a 15 to 20 minute audio visual call, and we would set that up so that way your PCP would get to know you and your medical history, and then they would be able to write the appropriate orders for you in your home health care.
Thank you very much. Liz, you're here to represent SHIP. What is SHIP and how can it be beneficial?
SHIP stands for the State Health Insurance Assistance Program. We are a federally funded grant program through the Administration for Community Living, and it's in all 50 states. So in West Virginia, the Bureau of Senior Services are the one who manages that. SHIP counselors are located at various locations throughout the area, mostly in the senior centers. We do not sell anything. We just try to help you understand the different parts of Medicare. Unfortunately, it can be a very complex situation. So we also can help you screen and apply for different programs which you may be eligible for to help with the different expenses that Medicare does not cover, such as your Medicare premium. There's the Extra Help program through Social Security that can assist with your drug costs. We just try to help you understand the different parts of Medicare and help you make that uniform decision, whatever fits your needs.
And something that's important, because this is going to be happening sometime in the very near future, is what is Medicare open enrollment and why is that so important?
Medicare open enrollment is so important. It happens every year, October 15th through December 7th. This is the one time that you can make changes to your either Part D plan or your Medicare Advantage plan. Unfortunately, all the plans change every year. So you will be getting a notice. You should have already received your notice from your insurance company telling you what your changes are for the next year. I just heard this morning that there are some Part D plans that are ending. They're no longer going to be available for 2025. There's major changes with everything coming for 2025. So it's good to, even though if you think that you have the best plan, you don't know what you don't know. So look at the plan you have, talk with somebody to see what's available for the next year, see if something else can save you money.
Thank you, Liz. Thank you. All right, Mairssa, so you all heard Abby mention this term a little while ago, and it was palliative care. And so Mairssa is here today, and she's going to explain to us a little bit about the difference between hospice and palliative care.
So, as we know, hospice is end-of-life care. So those who have a life-limiting illness seeking care either in their home or nursing facilities for end-of-life care. In contrast, palliative care is a medical specialty that seeks to help manage symptoms related to a serious illness, such as cancer, lung disease, heart disease, maybe a neurological condition, and try and help manage those symptoms related to those illnesses while the patient remains in their home or a nursing facility. With palliative care, patients continue to follow with their family doctors or their specialists while seeking life-prolonging treatments such as chemo or radiation and the testings related to their serious illness.
And what makes a person eligible for palliative care?
So as I just stated, with palliative care, you're eligible if you have a serious illness and are struggling with symptoms related to the progression of that illness or maybe frequent hospitalizations related to that illness. So I can give an example. In our valley, we have a lot of patients who struggle with heart failure and have recurrent hospitalizations related to those illnesses. And so what we do as palliative care providers is we go into the home for those patients that are struggling with those recurrent symptoms or progression of disease, and we help manage those conditions along with their family doctor or their specialist.
Thank you very much. Trisha, now you're here to talk to us a little bit more about what hospice is. How does an individual know that it's time for hospice for someone they love?
We hear that a lot, Tate, or when is it time for hospice? And a lot of people think it's time for hospice only when you have a couple days left or weeks to go. The earlier you can receive hospice, the better. Some of the signs to look for are you're making a lot more frequent ER visits. You're going to the hospital more frequently. You're going to your physician more often, or it's hard to get to your physician because you can't get out of the home. Or your caregivers are actually calling the physician once, twice a week, asking for their help, that something needs done at home. Those are definitely signs that it might be worth having a conversation about hospice. Hospice does not need to be a scary word. It doesn't mean you're dying right away. Some of the other symptoms to look for is weight loss, functional decline. Now family members are helping the patient do more of their daily activities. There is patients that are no longer getting treatment. That's a time to start talking about hospice and see what hospice can do for you. Also, if you're having a lot of pain and you need more symptom management, that's something that hospice can provide to you in the home, in the nursing home, or wherever you call home, we can provide the care.
And do you have to be a DNR, which stands for Do Not Resuscitate, and stop all medications once you start hospice services?
Not at all. There is a misconception that when hospice comes in, they are going to take you off of all of your medications. And that's not true. Sometimes a patient may end up on more medications because we're going to aggressively treat those symptoms. So there's a good chance you're going to remain on all of your medications and possibly add some. Every once in a while, they will possibly get rid of some medications, but it's going to be based on what you need at that moment in time. As for the do not resuscitate, that means if your heart would stop, do you want CPR? And if your answer is yes, that's fine, and you can still be on hospice. Sometimes making the hospice decision is a major decision, and you don't have to make all these major decisions at once. You can take your time. And as long as you have hospice earlier, it's a good time to not have to make all the decisions so quickly.
Thank you. And our first question for you is a little bit of a loaded question. Is there a way to get my loved one or loved ones to accept help?
You would start with that one, wouldn't you? Most often the quick answer is no. We're independent. We've grown to be older adults. We value that independence, and we want to stay independent. So when we start facing difficulties and our families start to try to help us, oftentimes it's talk to the hand. But what you can do is try to point out the facts And what often happens is that the caregiver can say, do it for me, help me out, because if I leave you here alone, I'm afraid. So work on the emotional part of the care receiver helping you. Often also it might be using a grandchild, a favorite niece or nephew, to again implore that they're doing this for them. Physicians or primary care providers can be great helps because they're that interested third party, but they're not living in the situation. So the physician often, or the primary health care provider, might put in a few words that this is what's needed and please consider these services or get some help. Or oftentimes it might be a placement decision that has to be made as well.
And Ann, where does a person even start to look for resources?
That's quite often the situation, Tate. I have people call me that know they need help, but they don't know what's out there. They don't know what's available. So what I encourage people to do, and when I'm meeting with them, we need to look at the situation. What's going on? What issues concern you? If you're the caregiver, include the care receiver as much as you can. Would a family meeting help? Sometimes it helps to clear the air with who's going to do what. Let the family know what's going on. I think we've heard our panelists say, have the discussion. So as much as we can talk with our loved ones now to see what we want, what are our care goals? Do we want hospice? Do we want in-home services? I've had the discussion with my family. This is what I want. So this is a big help to have the discussion. Know as much as you can about the services. This is a great start. The senior support fair at the mall, the Sunset Senior Fair at Heritage Port. Us, we're here for you. So talk to us if you have questions. We're not going to bite. We're not going to charge you. We're here to help you navigate the system. So in closing, what you might think of is think of a PIE, A-P-I-E. Assess the situation, plan for intervention, intervene, and then evaluate how it goes.
Excellent. Thank you, Ann. Dylan, what is the difference between elder law and estate planning?
Yeah, so really in a nutshell, estate planning is coming up with a plan for what happens to your stuff, what happens to your assets when you pass away. Elder law, however, is formulating a plan for what happens if you don't pass away, but now you can no longer take care of yourself. So making sure that you have the appropriate legal documents and legal plan in place so that someone else can help you into the future if you have a debilitating disease or a medical event or something of that nature.
And Dylan, when should I think about starting to work with an elder law attorney?
Yeah, so it's always better to plan early, even though none of us have a crystal ball, none of us know what's coming. But the earlier that we can plan and get a plan in place, the better results we can have. And really the answer really lies in the challenges that you're facing. So if you are a senior or if you have a family member or you have a family member that is suffering from diminished capacity or confusion while handling their financial affairs, oftentimes it's a good idea to contact an elder law attorney. Or if you or a loved one have recently received a diagnosis of dementia, Alzheimer's, something like that, or if you've had a major medical event such as a stroke where it looks like care is either needed now or will be needed in the near future, I would recommend reaching out to a qualified elder law attorney.
Thank you very much. And Paula, you're going to talk to us a little bit about nutrition when it comes to our seniors in Ohio and Marshall County. And one of the most frequently asked questions that you get is, do I make too much money to get Meals on Wheels?
The best part about Meals on Wheels, we do Meals on Wheels for Ohio and Marshall County. It is not income-based. It's based on your abilities and limitations. So it is not income-based, and that's the best part of it. The other thing that I think is very helpful, that it could be offered in a limited period of time. We've heard that in case of injury or, a minor medical incident, we can do it for a temporary basis. You can have it before surgery, after surgery, and then kind of come and go on the program as your needs increase or decrease.
Thank you. And also, as a caregiver, what are the benefits of Meals on Wheels?
One of the biggest benefits is we always hear from a lot of our seniors is I never want to be a burden. Having that extra benefit of having that meal available. If you don't eat it today, our meals are sealed to where they can be frozen, they can be microwaved. So it gives you that availability of reducing the stress upon not only the senior, but also the caregiver. And that's the biggest aspect of having that convenience of having somebody there to make that meal. And the other difficult thing is how do you cook for 1 or 2 people, especially in today's economy, having that variety. We always hear of how do you shop appropriately and make sure you get your nutritious content. So that's the other part that we always stress is the variety of being able to have something delivered. And unfortunately, having that person there and knowing that there's going to be somebody who's looking in on you, we have had it to where we had to call some individuals to, either the maintenance department to check to see if the person has fallen. And it's an extra provided service.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I want to thank our panelists for answering all of our frequently asked questions. And now what we're going to do is open it up to questions from you all. Does anyone here in our audience have questions? And we've got a gentleman right over here that is going to start us off.
I'm a veteran in World War II. Are there any programs specifically for veterans besides what the VA offers?
Well, first, I like this lady starting it off with a round of applause. Thank you, sir, for your service. And are there services available to you, if I understood your question correctly, that are available to veterans?
My outfit was in Kunming, China when the first atomic bomb was dropped.
Wow.
And then we moved on up to Shanghai, and I'm sure we would have been in the invasion if President Truman hadn't dropped that second bomb. Mm-hmm. So he saved thousands of lives on both sides, probably including mine. So I was glad to vote for him.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. And yes, we've got an answer to a question here.
First of all, thank you so much for your service. Family Service of the Upper Ohio Valley, we do provide transportation services that we can take you to the clinic in Ohio, in St. Clairsville, Ohio. So if you are a resident of Ohio County, we can transport you for free. The other thing, on the second Fridays of every month, we have a group of veterans that come together, and we have a veterans luncheon. It provides a place for you guys to socialize and also to come together as a group. But that's one services we do have, and we would love to have you. That is actually at Family Service. We're located at 2200 Main Street, and it's the second Friday of every month, and it's from 11 to usually around 1:30 or so.
Do they need to RSVP for that?
Usually we like an RSVP, so that way we know how many meals to provide. Michael Novotny from the Vet Center is there, and he usually has a very informative speaker, and they have that availability to share resources and also to have that socialization, which is so important.
Thank you. Anyone else? Excuse me, Julie. I'm going to squeeze behind you. I'm sorry. Gets a little bit awkward up here trying to get around. Okay.
Tell me about it.
You're welcome.
Yes, I can piggyback on Paula. I'm Faith in Action, and we provide no-cost transportation services. We do require an application. It's pretty much nothing, just as long as you live in either Belmont, Marshall, or Ohio County, you're eligible. And we do require 7-day notice for a request because they're all volunteers that drive. But yeah, we can drive you to St. Clairsville, to Bel Air, to any of the vet centers as well. So you might use both of us. We like to work together so that if I can't, she can, or vice versa. So you can get my information. Yeah, it's 304-243-5420.
All right.
Ashley has something.
Sorry, Ashley. I'm trying to get some more cord here to reach over to you. Okay, here we go. Here we go.
So for our veterans, when you do your funeral arrangements, we can assign for you or get you the paperwork, or I will do the paperwork for you to get you buried at a national cemetery at no cost to you. I can get you the bronze markers for every location that you were at. Your vault is included if you choose burial. And there also, we provide that transportation to get you to that national cemetery.
Thank you. We're going right down the road. That was a very good question that you asked to get us started, because almost everyone up here has a program specific for veterans.
I also want to say thank you for your service, sir. Our community does work with the aid and attendance benefit, and you will need to collaborate with the vet center in order to get that monies. It's additional monies that's out there that's not specifically related to a pension. And it can be used to help pay for assisted living and some home care. I'm sure IC Care will piggyback off of this. But it's not only for the veterans, but a couple and also a widow of a veteran. You had to serve at least one day during war era and have an honorable discharge. And you could apply for these monies. They pay you directly. Again, as I said, I'm a private pay community, and then you would use that monies to pay for assisted living. So look into the aid and attendance benefit, excuse me.
Thank you. And then coming over to Stephanie, because I saw you raise your hand, and then also Jen has just mentioned you as well.
So just the different ways that aid and attendance can be utilized, because it's in essence a medical expenditure account that the VA covers for you. And so there are multiple ways to apply for that benefit. You can do it directly through going to your local VA center and asking for them to give you the application for that and manage that process yourself. It is somewhat cumbersome and untimely to do it that way. You also can work with an elder care attorney. Many of them have expertise in working through the application for that benefit as well, and helping you to determine if financially you meet the criteria, because it is attached to wartime service, but it does have some financial parameters to it as well. And so if you're over the income and asset levels for that particular benefit, it might exclude you from it initially, but it's always good to be informed about what that is, because over time, if you're paying out of pocket for healthcare needs, for home modifications, things like that, over time, and you're spending down through your assets to at one point, then you may be eligible at some point in the future for that benefit. So you kind of want to know what those parameters are ahead of time, whether you meet them immediately or know what they will be for you in your future. We also work with a kind of a middleman company to help those who are interested in home care to achieve that benefit. They're called Veterans Care Coordination. Goodness, I just drew a blank there. Veterans Care Coordination. And so in conjunction with them, we can make a referral to you for that benefit if you're specifically looking for it to get home care services, which is your personal care needs met at home, homemaking needs met at home, and also transportation can be included in that as well. The great way to use aid and attendance at home is because that's a benefit that you can manage on your own and reimburses you for the home care services that are provided to you. So it gives you a lot more flexibility and a set number of hours per month of services that you could count on to have those needs met too. So just another way to use aid and attendance. And then directly through your VA, if you're a veteran that's registered at your local VA clinic, such as St. Clairsville or up in the East Liverpool area or in Pittsburgh, if you're seeking out those services anywhere, those primary care physicians and those VA centers can also refer you to additional programs for support, things like specifically the Homemaker program, which is a personal care assistance program at home, but that is allotted directly from the VA and managed by the VA, not your individual providers.
Anybody else have any questions?
Hold on one second, Sherrie. We've got another response
Oh,
here.
we do? Oh,
yep.
Okay.
Thank you, Julia.
I just wanted to add quickly, I'm with Valley Hospice again, and we are a nonprofit organization. So being a nonprofit organization, we're able to do fundraising, and one of the things that we do fundraising for is our VH Cares program, which serves to honor our veterans at the end of their life. And so that is one program that we do provide for our veterans in our community.
And also just to point out very quickly that Jarvis Law also helps individuals to get the aid and attendance benefit if you were interested. And I do believe that Family Service Upper Ohio Valley also works with the Homemaker program as well if individuals are in need of that program. If I could please just have the panelists up here. If you work with a veterans program of any kind, please raise your hand. This is how much we care about our veterans across the Ohio Valley. So, sir, thank you for your service. Thank you for your question. And if you have anything additional that you'd like to ask, any number of the panelists up here would be able to assist you with those questions. You're welcome.
We have a question here.
I'm the wife of a veteran and a widow, and I have Medicare and TRICARE for life. Do I need to buy more supplemental insurance? I keep getting approached, and TRICARE has covered everything, and I'm a pretty healthy person. I'm 78, but my husband was career Navy.
Sure. So no, you do not need to get another supplement. Your TRICARE and your Medicare should cover everything. And when you're approached by these other individuals, please, please do not give out your personal information. Do not give out your social or your Medicare number. There are so many scammers out there that just want that information. So you should be good.
And Liz, could I ask you about all the commercials that you see?
Oh,
What are your thoughts on those?
The commercials are, they are trying to sell you their product. So they are all insurance people. They work on commission, so they want to sell you their product. I do not sell anything. I just help you look at your individual situation to make the best decision. I try to educate you on everything that's available. So the insurance or the ads on TV, they're not always correct information.
Does everyone understand about those commercials? It's the ones where they say, call now and check your zip code. Do not call now. Do not allow them to check your zip code. Call someone like Liz. Liz can give you better information about our area and what's available to you.
Absolutely.
I have a question for Liz, too. One of my friends told me that she was paying too much to Medicare for her medical care. And I was kind of surprised at that, but she said that someone helped her to reduce that cost. Do I call you about that?
Yes, call me. Well, my phone number is 304-215-6528. My information is over on the table. I do have an office located here in Wheeling, but I can meet you like at the Family Service Center. I cover Ohio, Marshall, Brooke, and Hancock County. So, yeah, I can be available to talk to you. Each different program has a cost. You have your Part B premium, you have your insurance premium, you have, depending on which plan you're in, you can have many costs. But there are programs to help reduce those costs.
All right, we have one more here.
Yes, thank you. Thank you guys for your service also. My concern is I was really new about Medicare. And so I've been discriminated against because apparently I made a mistake about A and B. I wasn't sure. So now I have to pay for a bill that wasn't submitted because I was still working. I worked and didn't know that I was supposed to sign up for, maybe Part B. So make a long story short, as a senior, I am so disheartened because they make me try to go back and convince these people to get it paid from my previous insurance because it's all a breakdown in communication and I don't want to have a heart attack because they're not listening to me. So my question is, I think we need more planning or meetings like this for people when they retire one-on-one to explain in detail because I didn't know that I was supposed to sign up. I was still working and I thought I would get penalized. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. If you... Yes, unfortunately, Medicare can be very complex. And the main thing is if you don't apply when you're first eligible, you're going to be penalized, and that penalty stays with you for your entire life. So, that's an unfortunate situation. But yes, we do need more meetings like this. I'm always available. Call me anytime. I will try to help you navigate through that.
What I would like to add to that also before we move on to our next questions is the fact that I think as a society, and I've learned this now since I am in this realm of work, that we do not teach our citizens how to properly prepare for the aging process. And that's a huge problem. And that's why all of us work together and we meet and talk frequently so we can better understand that. And when you approach one of us, maybe you need our services, maybe you don't. And if you don't need our services, we know that we can call any one of these folks that are sitting at this table and say, hey, I was talking to Susie today, and Susie had this question of me. It's not something that I work with, but I'm going to send her to you because I know that that's your area of expertise. I think the gentleman in the blue shirt also had a question first, Sherrie. I'm sorry. Where? In the center table right there.
Well, I'm going to start here.
Okay.
Go back.
Hi, I have a question about palliative care. Can a palliative care patient receive palliative care at Liza's place?
That's a great question. They unfortunately cannot. So, as Trisha had said, with hospice patients, a lot of times their symptoms are progressing and they require frequent hospitalizations or symptoms that are not well controlled. Liza's Place is an inpatient hospice unit that is specifically geared towards hospice patients needing aggressive symptom control, and it is available for Valley Hospice patients. So that's in Wheeling. And it's an inpatient hospice unit only. So unfortunately, at this point in time, palliative care patients cannot receive care there.
Do you have a follow-up? Okay.
Can any hospice patient receive care at Liza's place?
No, only Valley Hospice patients can seek care at Liza's Place.
Okay, I'm sorry. Before we move on to that next question, I know that Jennifer had a response there as well.
I was just going to say, at an assisted living community, though, you can't have both. So they could come to our community and do palliative care, and they also could do hospice care at assisted living, I believe, also at the nursing home.
Thank you.
All right, sir.
I had a couple of questions. One was for, and I apologize, I forget your name, the library lady. I'll refer to her as that.
Julia.
Okay. So I live in Ohio in Belmont County. Is your services available to people from Belmont County, or is there a library in Belmont County that provides somebody like yourself?
I don't believe they have the exact same services. I would call them. I know they were thinking about doing some kind of outreach program at one point.
Who's they?
The St. Clairsville Library. Okay. We're not connected. The library system is separate. I'm not sure what services St. Clairsville Library offers.
I think it's great what you're doing in Ohio County and maybe other libraries, kind of reinventing yourselves, to bring more services in that never was done before.
Yeah, we have a lot of great services now.
My second question really applies to everybody. There was talk about volunteering in the announcement about the meeting today. Does that mean any of your organizations are looking for volunteers?
Right here.
I knew Faith in Action because they talked about it.
We're a volunteer-based agency, so we're always looking for volunteers.
But if you have a small car, it is hard for seniors to get in and out of the cars.
Yeah, but not all our seniors are the same size. Come on, you're not all the same size. You can get a 5'1", 115-pound woman in your vehicle, I'm sure. But we look at that. We are a match program. When I have an individual call for services and they filled out the application, we get all their information. One of the questions is, how tall are you and how much do you weigh? And the reason I ask that is because I have to match them with a volunteer that can really assist them best. We don't want a 6'1", 280-pound man to be driven by a 5'2", 115-pound woman. So we match them. It's not just any volunteer off the street can come in. We have to match our care receivers to our volunteers and where they're going as well. But I don't care what size your car is. I brought forms. You can fill one out.
I would like to also hop over to Ann very quickly and then to Trisha, because I think that Ann had a little bit of an answer to your first question in regard to the library services available to individuals in Belmont County.
Thanks, Tate. Yes, there are outreach services in Belmont County through their libraries. They're more limited in terms of geography. I think probably Julia goes a little bit farther, whereas the Ohio kind of stick along the river. My card's over there. If you'll grab one and call me, I will be happy to elaborate on that. But yes, those services are available in Belmont County.
And
I think, Tate, raise your hands again if you could use volunteers. And I think maybe just what can you use the volunteers for? What would they have to do? That might be a good question.
Usually we have the volunteers packing up boxes if we do food boxes, or we have special events where we want the interaction of one-on-one. Like currently we have a volunteer who's going to be talking about planting and composting. So if you have a specific hobby that you want to pass on to somebody, we could always use that extra seminar experience and also, hands-on passing on your knowledge.
Thank you. Okay, raise your hands again.
So for hospices, we are always looking for volunteers. There is some information over there about hospice volunteers. Medicare actually requires a hospice to have part of their hours as volunteer hours. And it could be a range of things that you can do. Like my 17-year-old daughter is a hospice volunteer. Sometimes it's just companionship with a patient and caregiver. Something called tuck-in calls, where you call the families and just kind of talk to them, see if they need anything, any supplies. So there's a lot of things that a hospice volunteer can do. So if you're interested, there is information, and all hospices are always looking for volunteers.
I'll just tack on to that. I'm with Valley Hospice as well, so we use them for companions as well. We also use them in our central offices, and a lot of our volunteers like to volunteer at our care centers. So we have a care center in Wheeling, which was Laz's place that we spoke about, as well as our care center up in Steubenville, which is the Mary Jane Brooks Care Center. And a lot of times we'll have volunteers that will go there and bake for the patients that are either receiving care there or the families, or go and give companion care there as well.
Who else?
So at all three of our skilled nursing centers, volunteering is really important. I think, Paula, you've talked a lot about the socialization of it. It's just coming in and sitting down and having conversation. It's maybe reading a book or reading a story. Our activities departments are extremely active, but just coming in and sitting down by one of the fireplaces and having a drink and a snack with our residents and just talking about, current events, weather, the simplest of things creates a lifelong friendship for our residents.
I piggyback off of what Sam said. Those are the exact same things that we are looking for. There has been a huge, and I don't know if the other panels could testify to this, a huge decrease in volunteers since COVID. We went from like 30 volunteers to like 4. So it is important to get out and volunteer, be a companion. You can lead an activity on the evening, weekends. There's a walking trail. You could take a senior on a walk. Maybe those that don't have family members or friends that are left, they could use, just go out and go shopping, go to lunch or something, just in addition to what we have at the community.
Thank you.
I take care, I drive an older woman to the doctors quite often, and one of the questions that I have is her doctor keeps pressing her to do a prearranged medical care, and he talks about a living will, he talks about 5 wishes, he talks about a medical power of attorney. Can you give me some help as to which one is, I don't know the difference between them and all that. I'm sorry to go off track here, but.
No, that's okay. I think Dylan's going to answer that question for us.
Yeah, so the medical power of attorney would be a document that she could appoint someone to make medical decisions for her if she's unable to make them herself. A living will is a document that deals with end-of-life care if someone has a disease of which they are not going to recover from. They're kind of companion documents, and if you or your friend speak to someone qualified with these documents, they'll be able to explain all the differences between the two and the considerations that you need to make when filling them out. But certainly, Jarvis Law, that's one of the main things that we do.
5 wishes.
Using the terms the doctor uses with her, so.
Absolutely, and you don't hear 5 wishes very often, but one of the things that we do at Amedysis Hospice is we do talk about 5 wishes. 5 wishes is a booklet, and it goes into a lot more detail than the living will, like what you want done towards the end of your life. It goes into detail, do you want visitors? Who do you want with you when at the end of your life? Do you want music playing? What's important to you? So it gives a lot more detail, the 5 wishes. So if you're very, you know exactly what you want, that's going to give you the more detailed plan for end of life, the 5 wishes.
And with palliative care, that's actually one thing that we do in the home is medical power of attorney documents and living wills. And that is when a nurse practitioner would come into the home and help discuss those goals of care with that patient, help provide some disease education, and talk to them about what their wishes are if and when this disease would progress, and help them fill out those documents to the best of their wishes. So that's a huge component of what we do in palliative care, and we do it in the patient's home. So that also takes away some of that fear factor when they're in the hospital, and sometimes these questions are being relayed at the patient, and it's a really stressful situation. The goal with palliative care is to be able to do it in the patient's home in a less stressful environment, so they really have the time to sit down and think about what their wishes would be in those scenarios and document them appropriately.
In addition to that, the medical power of attorney ends at death. So a lot of people come to us at the funeral home thinking that medical power of attorney gives them power to make those final wishes for that person, and that is not true. A lot of that has changed, and you have to be labeled as the executor of disposition. Disposition is whether you're going to be buried full body or buried as cremation, or what you want done with that. So it's how you want your remains completed is the disposition. So you have to have an executor of disposition, and I can help with that, especially if she has no family. So most of the time, your next of kin becomes that. By law, your next of kin is made that executor of disposition. But if that person doesn't have any family, then someone else has to be able to choose those things for you. And there's on average 125 questions that they have to answer on your behalf. So in addition to doing the medical power of attorney and the 5 wishes and all that, you definitely need to make sure that those funeral arrangements are prepared for her so that she has what she wants wrote down and it cannot be changed.
Thank
Okay.
you.
I have a paper question. Does anybody else have any paper questions? Okay, so this one kind of piggybacks right off of this. What's the downside of being an executor for someone? Or executress?
Who wants to take that question? Dylan? Okay.
So I guess the downside of being someone's executor or executrix would be that you're the point person dealing with the probate court if their estate is going through probate. Now, probate is extraordinarily easy to avoid if you have the knowledge to do it. But to answer your question directly, you would be the one dealing directly with the probate court, filling out the forms and everything, going through that court procedure to take the estate through probate.
So what are those? What are the responsibilities? Are there any other than that?
I mean, that's really it. Likely, you would want to hire an attorney at that point to help you through the process. There are a lot of documents. There are a lot of filings, inventories, things like that that you need to report to the court. and then you are at the mercy of the court throughout the process. Probate can be a long process, certainly if people are fighting about things, and it can also be an expensive process. So it's extraordinarily easy to avoid through beneficiary designations on bank accounts and things like that. So I would highly recommend that over going through the probate process.
I'm sorry, 1 second before we get to your question, sir.
I just want to say I have firsthand knowledge. I spent all of yesterday at Washington, PA, Register of Wills. My mother recently passed, and I'm the executor. It is a lot. You are liable for everything. The simplest things, like if you have to put an ad in the paper. But I really lucked out. The people at Washington County Court, they were fantastic. I did not have to probate. It turned out I could go another route, but I asked a lot of questions. I got a lot of answers. I got a lot of papers to fill out. A lot of them I didn't need. But it is a serious situation. If you have other members of the family that are involved when the person passes and you are the executor, read that will.
If you own your home and you want to pass that along, it's also, of interest to do that early. And I'm sure Dylan is it? Can tell you the dates and times.
Yeah, so planning for the home is especially important. Certainly if we're talking about probate, we can avoid probate through what's called a transfer on death designation on real estate. And then also if we are planning for a transfer on death designation on real estate can make your real estate avoid probate when something happens and you pass away. And then also you need to consider when planning for the home, what happens if I need care in the future. So the earlier you start planning for these things, the better results you can have. You oftentimes hear people tell you to transfer your house to your kids' names or something like that. I do not recommend doing that. There is better legal avenues to go down that will work out better for you and your family in the future. It's a good. Yeah, so I mean that would be a comprehensive estate plan. It could be using a trust. It could be using transfer on death designations. It would merit a in-depth conversation with you to determine exactly what you want to accomplish and then recommending the appropriate plan for that.
Okay, we have a question over here.
I receive 5 to 10 calls a week, and about the first sentence is requiring about changes in Medicare. And if I don't answer them and I go back and check the number, it's usually a small town in West Virginia, and if I call it, the number is no longer in existence or something. Are these all scam calls?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Don't answer those calls. They want your business. They want to sell you their product. If you like the plan that you're in, you are good. Talk to somebody like myself to see, if you are in the best plan or if there is something else better for you. I will not sell you anything. I will not convince you one way or another. I don't represent any one company or plan, so I'm just kind of like the neutral person that will look at your individual situation and help guide you to whatever it is that you feel was the best decision for you. If you talk to somebody on the phone, they're going to sell you their plan, or try to.
Is there any way to stop these calls? I mean, you're getting very annoying.
Not that I know of, unfortunately. I just don't answer them.
Samantha has something that she wants to add to that as well.
So the best way to stop those calls is to not call those numbers back. Because what happens is that puts you right back through in their directory for calling. There is also a national registration for a do not call that I believe still is about a 7-year window. But every time we call those customers back, it regenerates 30 days. So they have 30 days to call you back before they have to go ahead and put you back into that list. So before anything, stop calling them back. to find out if they're valid.
Yvonne has something she wants to add?
I have noticed at the office, because we get a lot of those calls, and we don't answer with hello. We answer faith in action. And most of the time they're recordings in the beginning, and as soon as you say hello, then the person picks up. But they don't pick up. So think of something else to say. Don't say hello. Don't say yes. That's definitely true.
Record it and then use that voice where they suggest you're acknowledging something.
Oh, excellent.
So be careful about that. Don't say yes. I had another question. Do I need an estate lawyer? I want to give my house to my neighbor, but I don't want my neighbor to ever sell the house to a developer who's going to decimate it. So I want to be able to preserve it. Do I need an estate lawyer for that? I mean, a real estate lawyer?
So I do not believe, at least at this moment, that you would need a real estate attorney. I do believe that you need an estate attorney that will be able to walk you through that process and make sure that that wish that you have is carried out into the future.
And to kind of follow up with that, are there free consultations, or what does it cost for an individual maybe to have a consultation, or does that vary?
Yeah, so at Jarvis, we do free consultations. So you can come in, meet with a member of our team. They will ask you questions about your current life circumstances, where you want to go, determine whether we are the right fit for you and you are the right fit for us. And if so, then they would schedule you for an attorney or a meeting with the attorney to go in depth into the legal documents and the legal plan.
I have a comment, and it could lead into a question also, but scammers. Here's the problem. My friend got scammed in a way, I'm not sure of the full story, but it ended up whoever got her information went out and opened all these credit cards, and I mean, she's got a mess of trying to get this straightened out. The other thing is, I called, what happened was there was a bank that's local, but it's national, it's called Chase. So I'm leery on opening anything at all. So I called the bank to find out if this was their email. And it turned out it was a scam, but it looked exactly like Chase. And I was just so taken away. So, and for myself, I'm not totally illiterate at using a computer. I could stand to have someone teach me more. But, it's frightening how everyone in this room, the most person that can get the scams is the elderly.
Yes. The older adult community is the most vulnerable when it comes to those types of scams because children are very vulnerable as well, but usually they don't own anything, whereas you've worked your entire life to own things. And so these scam artists know that, and so they're preying on the things that you own and have acquired. And so oftentimes those are referred to as phishing. It's PHISHING, where they're fishing for the information that you may have. And so they will mimic to look exactly like in the instance that you just described, Chase, for example. But there might be some slight differences between the communications that the fishers are using versus what Chase might actually use. Whereas Chase might send out an email that says, "Hello, Dolores," whereas the fishers would probably say, "Dear customer." They try to personalize those things to make sure that you understand and that you feel comfortable that it's actually a reputable organization that you're dealing with and not one of those phishing organizations. But when in doubt, I think that you should all do exactly, and I'm sorry, what's your name? Vivian. I think that everyone should do just as what you did. If you're in doubt, call the institutions in which you're receiving these emails from to verify that they are the ones who sent that email or did not send that email. And something else that's very important for everyone to understand is, generally speaking, individuals from a reputable organization will not ask you for personal information over the telephone or through email. So do not give out any personal information to anyone via telephone or email.
I got a follow-up kind of thing. when my friends, because they have imposters doing, taking on your, a look of like Facebook. And when someone sends me something, I form a question that only that person would know. So if they answer me in the correct way, then I open it because,
One of the things that if anyone is tech savvy, on your telephone or in your email, if you hit the to button, or the from button, if you click on that, it will usually say an email address that's not related at all to that organization. And that's a quick way to know that that's not a legitimate one. Now, if it says info@Chase, then it probably is legitimate. Do not call the number on the email they sent you. Call the number on your bill.
And Ann, I think you had something that you wanted to add.
I was just going to dovetail on what Sherrie says. Don't use the information on the email, whether it's an email address or a telephone number. Look it up from the bill, look it up in the phone book. Yeah. But seriously, look it up on another source from what you got that email. And don't give out your personal information. Do not give out your personal information.
Any other questions?
This question is for Amedysis. Thank you. It's about the 5 Wishes booklet. Do you have to do something legal, documentation, and once you fill it out, or is it just enough to be accepted? Do you have to have it presented to an attorney?
You will have it notarized
Okay.
also, and at least that's showing that it was done by you. Somebody, noted that it was you. So yes, you would still get something done. You wouldn't have to go to the attorney just for like 5 wishes. But then if you want to take it further, because 5 wishes isn't legal in every state. West Virginia it is, Ohio it is not.
Okay.
So it's not used in Ohio. So you would still probably want to get the medical power of attorney set up for that person that you are comfortable will carry out your wishes. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Well, again, thank you to you all for coming out and joining us. And hopefully you're going to leave here feeling a little bit more enlightened about some things in your life that you didn't know before you walked through the doors of the library today. And please tell your friends and whatnot. This is what we all try to do, is constantly educate our community, because as I said earlier, as a society, we do not prepare our citizens for the aging process the way that we should. And Abby and I are probably the 2 youngest ones that are here today, and if we were not involved in this, no offense to anybody else, sorry, that we would not know these things. And so it's great that we are in the healthcare field, that we are learning these things early, because otherwise, when folks come to us, usually it's the first time that they're dealing with this particular situation that they're dealing with, and they don't know what they don't know, and they don't know how to navigate those waters. So thank you again for you all coming, and a round of applause to our panelists as well for being here and answering your questions.
And thank you to Ohio County Public Library
Yes.
for providing this space and providing this forum.
Yeah.